Hello everyone! This hour on Verbling, the next in my Great Short Stories series. Today we are going to be discussing the short story that we read last week. So we'll be talking about it and we'll be going through not only some discussion questions, but also whatever you would like to talk about, whatever you've learned about the story in the reading over the last week, and we'll be reading some parts of it to look at the language. That's a little bit about the class. Here's a little bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. By the way, here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up. That means when you're not speaking, turn off your microphone so we can keep the classroom quiet. When you are speaking, tune in to the new words. Use them as actively as you can so that I can correct you and give you feedback. Finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and what's the word I always say? Oh yeah, safe and I'm forgetting my own speech. You get the idea. Everyone just have fun. So let's do this. I'm going to say hello to some new faces, and as I do that, I'm going to put the material on screen for you. Okay, and don't forget to always have the material below the video window. I'll put it in the chat window if you want to open it. And I'll put it in the group chat inside the Hangout in case you don't have it open. And you'll see that graphic. Okay, so let's say a quick welcome back to Mr. Jolt. Hello, Mr. Jolt. How are you?
Hey, Jon-Eric and class. I'm fine, thanks. How about you?
Mr. Jolt from Budapest.
Yes.
There you go. And let's say hello to Cornell. Hello, Cornell.
Hi, Jon-Eric. Hi, Zsolt. I'm from Veszprém, also in Hungary.
Mr. Cornell from Hungary, but not from Budapest.
Yeah, Budapest is the capital of Hungary.
And where are you?
I'm from Veszprém.
Veszprém.
It is another city in Hungary.
It sounds like a nice city.
Yes, of course.
And let's say hello to a new face. It looks like, how do I say your name? Is it Ulgur or Ulgur?
Yeah, actually it's Ur, but I should have another one, the second one. You can easily pronounce it. It is Esan.
Esan.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Esan.
Hello.
So what do you like to be called? Esan or Ulgur?
Esan, you can say Esan. I always use that. Easier for everyone.
Oh, there you go. So, let me see. Did everyone already read the story? Yes or no?
Not yet.
Uh-oh. What about you?
I actually read it really quick.
Really quickly.
I read it really quick before class, yeah.
So, and but were you here last week, Jolt? I can't remember. Last Friday. Were you here?
Yes.
You were? Okay, I thought so.
Here, yes.
I thought so. Well, here's my idea. You tell me if you think this is a good idea or a bad idea. My idea is that we read it one Friday, like last Friday. We get a good introduction to it, and then I give you a week to read it on your own. In the next Friday, we discuss it. I give you a few questions to think about, right? You make notes. You can make notes directly on the document by using the comment tool. We talk about it. We read some important parts, and we decide what it means. We decide what language is interesting for us as well. Why certain things are said in that particular way. So we get used to the language, and we talk about the meaning. And then we introduce a new story at the very end of class. That's my idea. Do you think that's a good idea, or do you prefer? Because I'm worried that we spend the whole time reading, we never get a chance to talk about the stories. So what do the three of you think? If you want to be here regularly, hopefully Lara will be back. She was here last week. What do you think? Is that a good way to do it, or do you prefer a different way? What's your opinion? What do you think? Hello?
It works
Can anyone
for
hear
me.
me? So Joel, you think it's a good idea?
Yes, I think it's okay.
All right. And Cornell and Asan, what do you think? If you're able to attend the class every Friday, is that a good idea?
Yeah, it could be okay.
Yeah? Okay. And I wonder where it's a little hard for me to send a message. Maybe I can just send a quick message to Lara, because she should be here. But then so what should we do for today then? Because we've got two people that haven't read it. So what should we do? We can read another section of it, because we can't talk about it if you haven't read it. So what do you suggest? Maybe, here's my idea, Joel. Tell me if you think this is a good idea. Why don't you introduce the beginning of the story to Cornell and Asan? Why don't we read the next... It's not a long story, so why don't we read a bit more and we talk about it at the end? What do you think about that, Jolt? Because that will give you a chance to summarize what you know.
Okay.
Is that all right? So, if you can
It's
summarize
fine.
the first two parts of the story, then maybe we can read together parts 3, 4, and 5. They're really short. And then we should still have some time to talk about what the story means or what it seems to be happening in the story. So that's my idea. Because if we talk about the whole story, we got a problem. Two people haven't read it, okay? So let's do this, Jolt. I'm going to put the story back on screen here. And together, we read part 1 last week. And we read part 2, and I think that's where we stopped. Yeah, we read just these two first parts. So take a minute. Maybe you can just skim through the first two parts, and maybe you could summarize what happened. How did the story begin? You can talk a little bit about the plot, a little bit about the characters, a little bit about the setting, or a little bit about the theme. Whatever comes to mind. Okay? So what would you say?
Okay.
What's important for them to know about the beginning?
Okay, so it begins with a couple.
Right?
They're going to have a child. The woman is pregnant, and they're preparing
They
for the
are
arrival.
preparing?
They are preparing for the arrival of the child by spending their weekends in the Eckeeta, and they
By the way,
buy
what is
furniture.
Eckeeta? Not everyone has one. So what is an Eckeeta? What is that?
It's a furniture store.
Is it a store or is it a chain of stores?
It's a chain of stores.
Yeah. Because if it was just a furniture store, I think the story would be very different. But it's a chain of stores. It's like the McDonald's of furniture stores. At least that's what I think. By the way, all my furniture comes from IKEA, so I'm not saying it's bad. Let's see. Let's take a minute and make sure everyone's catching these details here. And let's say hello to Alexander as well. His cat with very big feet. Hello, Alexander. Welcome to class. Hello, Alexander. Welcome to class. Alexander, are you there? Alexander is not turning his microphone on. So, Cornell, what did you understand about the characters? Was what he said clear?
Sorry, could you please repeat it?
So, who are the characters in the story according to Jolt?
Yeah,
Who are they? How many characters so far?
two,
So far, two. A
two,
couple.
two characters, and there will be a boy or a girl after 9 months.
Maybe, yes. In the story, I don't know, but maybe. Okay. And Hassan, where are they spending their time since they're preparing for the baby? What did you catch what Jolt said?
Yeah, they were spending their time at IKEA.
Do you have IKEAs in Turkey?
Yeah, we have. How did you know that I'm from Turkey? You didn't say that.
Because your name is Ulgur?
Okay, cool.
Where else could you be from?
Okay.
Just a guess. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Let's see if Alexander is out there. Alexander, is your microphone working?
Yes, hi.
Hi. So, Alexander, you were not in the class last Friday, were you? Right?
I don't remember, but probably I was studying at the university.
Okay. So you did not read the story yet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So Jolt is giving us a little introduction, and we're going to read the next two parts together as a class, and then we'll talk about it, just so you know where we are. Okay?
All right.
So Jolt, it's about a couple. They're preparing for their baby. They're spending a lot of time in IKEA, which turns out to be kind of important in the story. And is there anything else we ought to know about the first two parts? Anything unusual going on?
Yes. That's where the story gets weird because they
It does get
they
weird.
shopping, yeah, they shopping furniture and they actually buy an IKEA dog.
An IKEA dog. Okay.
Yeah, it seems to me like it's a robot that's made of wood and looks like an IKEA furniture, but it's moving and do duck stuff.
Yeah. Well, tell me something that it does that's like a real dog. When they find it, do you remember what it does? There's a reason why the woman, I think her name is Imka, there's a reason why her attention is really caught. She's kind of interested in the dog. What does it do? Do you remember?
I think the dog is biting her cloth.
Yeah. It bites her clothes, and then the husband, I guess he's a husband or the boyfriend, whatever he is, we don't know his name, by the way. He says that the dog does that thing that dogs do. It nuzzles. What is nuzzling? Do you know? If a dog,
Yeah, we talked about it in the rest class. It's when the dog put its nose to your hand.
yeah, it's like a way of being affectionate, right? They kind of bury their head, into your hand or into your clothing or something. And that's it. Okay, and that was kind of the beginning. So on your own, class, you should definitely read the parts that you should read the whole story on your own as well, actually. And one last question for you, Jolt. In part 2, he finds the dog. How does he feel about IKEA? Does he have any particular impression of the place that you noticed? What would you say? Does he like it? Does he hate it? Is it not clear?
I wouldn't say he hates it.
True. He doesn't hate it.
I think he don't like the part when he has to collect the different parts. But
Oh,
other
when he
than that,
when he goes to buy the dog, he has got to go to the warehouse, and he's kind of
yeah,
upset because it's heavy and he has to carry it, and he thinks it's a bad system. So he's not happy with that. It's inconvenient. That's true. So that leads me to the next point. His wife or his girlfriend Imke likes the dog, and of course they decide to buy it. But they have to put it together themselves because it's made of wood. But it's weird because how can a dog made of wood act like a real dog? That's where the story gets weird. So let's do this. Let's pick it up in part 3. Maybe we can read 2 or 3 parts together and then see what we think about the story. As we go along, I'll put pronunciation words in bold if we need to review the pronunciation, and I'll try to put definitions to difficult words by doing this. I can right-click. You'll see a research window open in Google Docs. If you want to add a dictionary, you write cite, 2 points, colon. I'm going to use vocabulary.com. I'm going to use this dictionary, but you're welcome to add definitions of your own if you like. Okay, so for crib, for example, vocabulary.com gives a definition. A crib is a bed with high sides that babies sleep in. Perfect. Click Insert Link, and now when you review the story, you have a definition waiting for you if you forget the word. Okay? So, Joel, why don't you start us off, and then we'll go around the room. Take the first paragraph.
okay.
I'll make it big. Go for it. Oh, and what's the dog's name? I'm sorry.
It's Eckeeta.
Eckeeta. You can see it over here. Okay, go for it, Jolt.
Imke had Edgar put the crib and the changing table together first. When they finished, he tore open Eckeeta's packaging. There was a plastic bag with what looked like 1,000 wooden packs of 4 indistinguishable sizes.
Indistinguishable. Indistinguishable. Third syllable.
Indistinguishable sizes and little plastic buttons. There was an Allen wrench, like a chrome lowercase L. They already had a drawer full of Allen wrenches downstairs. Every piece of furniture in their house came from IKEA.
I wonder, what does that say about the couple? Every piece of furniture in their house came from IKEA. What do you think that says about them, Jolt?
They're similar to you, I think.
They're like me.
Yeah.
Should I be insulted by that?
You have something in common. But
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I have IKEA stuff also, so I think it's a good thing.
Oh, it's a good thing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So they just like the furniture from IKEA.
In my case, I live across the street from IKEA. When I leave my house, I walk into IKEA. So I can't avoid it. Even if I want to, it's there. But what does it say about them in terms of the kind of people they are? Not everyone goes to IKEA. What kind of people go to IKEA? What do you think? And by the way, class, you can add your opinions here too. Is there a certain kind of person that goes to IKEA? If you told your grandfather, let's go to IKEA, what would your grandfather say?
It is too modern for grandfather, in my point of view.
Okay.
I don't think so, because in my, I don't know, in my city, a lot of people, a lot of old people tend to go there to buy some stuff or for home, and I think it's not a big deal for them because
Is it
it's quite
expensive
easy
or
to
cheap?
buy. No, it's not expensive,
It's
and
not expensive. It's true.
yeah, and that's why they like going there.
So, what kind of people are these? Well, for one thing, maybe they like the fact that it's cheap. So that's one thing. And also, it's convenient. It's very convenient. They make it really easy to buy things. So let's keep that in mind when we think about why they're at this place. Maybe they don't have a lot of money. I don't know. On the other hand, they're not poor, because if they're poor, they wouldn't be buying furniture at all, right? So let's think about that. I think it's important. There must be a reason why the story centers around this one particular place. There must be a reason. Okay? So, Cornell, why don't you take the next two? They're kind of short.
Next what?
The next two,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, okay. Edgar spent the afternoon tightening screws and flipping through the paper instruction booklet, which contained no words, so it could be used by people in dozens of countries. This one was much longer and more involved than he'd seen before, almost 30 pages. He had almost tightened the dog's right ear all the way when Inca passed the baby's room. "Stop it right now, Ed," she said. "Look at that. It's obviously upside down." Since the first trimester she'd been short with him in a way she'd never been. He heard her throwing up in the toilet every morning. How much patience would he have if he was nauseous every day? When he had a cold, he acted like the world was ending.
2 words to repeat. Trimester. Trimester.
It is a part of pregnant.
It's true, but first repeat. Trimester. Cornell?
Sorry, could you please repeat it because my wife told me something in Hungarian.
Repeat the pronunciation. Trimester.
Trimester.
Right, not tree, but try. Trimester.
Trimester, okay.
And the second word, nauseous.
Nauseous.
That's it. Nauseous.
Nauseous.
Why was she nauseous? Why was she nauseous?
What does it mean?
It means it means she was vomiting every morning. Why was she vomiting? Why was she nauseous? Why was she sick every morning? Because you must know the answer because look at your picture. Who's that in your picture, Cornell?
Sorry?
Who is that in your picture? Who's the little guy?
My
Cornell?
picture?
Yeah, who's that little guy in your picture?
He is my son.
Of course. So, when your wife was pregnant, did she feel sick in the morning, in the beginning?
No. She was okay. So he hasn't any problem with.
Not him, not him. I meant your wife. Your wife. When she was pregnant, did she feel sick? Especially in the morning when she would wake up. Did she feel sick in the very beginning? Or was she okay the whole 9 months? She felt okay.
Yeah, more or less, yes.
More or less.
Yeah.
So, why was Imka nauseous? Because she was pregnant. And sometimes, right, you have what's called morning sickness. So, she was a little bit irritable, right? And he starts to think about that. Well, how much patience would I have if I was nauseous every day? If I felt sick every morning? Right?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear, so that's what nauseous is, feeling sick. Let's say a quick hello to Creative Man. Oh, what kind of man is that? It's a creative man. Hello, Creative Man. Hello? Mr. Creative, are you there? I guess not. Well, Mr. Creative, If you can say hello, it would be great. Or
It's not creative to say hello.
maybe. Well, say do something creative for us, creative man. Or write in the chat window if you're having trouble with your microphone, because I can't hear you. Maybe he's having connection problems. Everyone, if you have connection problems, if you can't get the sound to work, leave, close the browser, open the browser, go back to Verbling, click join. Yeah, that's it. So, no problem. So, Mr. Creative, hi Creative, leave and return. And it should work. And it might work. Sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's the browser. I'm sorry, it's the Hangout. It might be the Hangout. Okay, so that's it. Hassan, can you take the next two?
Okay. He untightened the right ear with his Allen wrench. He turned it over and screwed it in again. Eckeeta was finished. Each step of putting him together, it had seemed there was no way this agglomeration of fabric and wooden pieces would come together to make an animate dog finished. Eckeeta was identical to the dog they'd played with in the store. He lay sleeping on serpentine, I
I
guess
have
a Swiss
no
word.
idea what that is. I don't speak Swedish, so I don't know. Remember, IKEA is from Sweden, so they have all their names in Swedish.
Yeah, I know. So it looks like Swedish word.
Soporera.
Okay, and let's leave him alone, Imp said. She stood impassive in the doorway, unconsciously rubbing her belly with her right hand. They left the dog sleeping there while they put all the thin cardboard and styrofoam into a glass trash
Styrofoam.
bag.
Styrofoam.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Let's ask Alexander. Alexander, what is styrofoam? Maybe he knows. Alexander's not answering me. Cornell Schultz, what is styrofoam?
It is a good question.
Know what?
I think it's a part of the packaging.
Exactly. It's part of the packaging to keep the material safe. The stuff you're going to assemble. It's packed in this white, kind of soft, firm.
Yeah, I know. It looks like a snow when you.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Better. And yeah, as quietly as they could, so as not to wake him.
Okay, good. Notice it's a Glad trash bag. Do you think it's important that we know the brand name of the trash bag? Hassan.
Uh,
Why do you think the author put in the brand name? Is it important that it's Glad? That's an American brand, Glad. Why?
It might be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what does that mean, but sometimes the brand name can be using as like a particular stuff name. Just can't find an example, but
Like
for
Hoover.
example, cola. Like we always say cola, like instead of Coke, but it's actually a brand name. It's not right. So
That's
maybe
true.
it's bad. I don't know.
Like in England, they say I'm going to Hoover the rug. They don't say I'm going to vacuum. They say I'm going to Hoover. And Hoover is the brand of the vacuum cleaner. But they use it as a word.
So maybe it is the same, but I don't know. I'm just guessing.
But it's interesting that first we get IKEA, which is a brand of furniture, and then we get Glad, which is a brand of trash bags. I'm just saying it's interesting. There must be a reason. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. Form your opinions. She stood impassive. Does that mean that he could pass or that he could not pass through the door?
He could not pass, I guess.
He could not. Im means not. he could not pass. She stood impassive. She didn't move, and he couldn't get through the door either. So she's probably telling him what to do. So she stood impassive. I don't know. It sounds kind of like she's imposing on him or something. And she's kind of in a bad mood because she's pregnant, she feels sick in the morning, and things like that. And by the way, what was that the part that you read, Ehsan? So what was actually going on? In simple words, what was that part about? What was he doing with the Allen wrench? What was he doing?
Yeah, actually, when I'm reading loudly, I always miss the words, so I cannot say that I understood exactly.
But in general, what was he doing? Don't worry about the words. Don't worry about the details.
Yeah, they're just trying to avoid the dog wake the dog up, and they at the last paragraph, I guess.
That's true. So,
yeah.
In other words,
actually, they are like end of their shopping, I guess, because
they're at home now.
Okay.
Right, they're at home. So, last week, with the part we read, they had bought this dog, and then he put together the crib that they bought for the kid, and the other furniture for the kid, and then he was excited and he put together the dog. So that's the part you were reading. The Allen wrench is the tool, right? The IKEA gives you these tools. They don't give you the words. They just give you pictures and tools. Mm-hmm. So he puts together the dog. And agglomeration means a group of things. A group of things. I'll put in a link there. So he can't understand how this group of wood and fabric could become a dog. But he puts it together, and the dog is sleeping. It's there, and it's sleeping, like a real dog. Interesting. I don't know what's going on, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it just sounds a little bit weird.
It's a little bit weird. At least I never saw a dog like that in IKEA. Alexander, take it away, part 4.
All right. Around that time, Edgar had been spending all his weekends dealing with the huge sinkhole that had opened up in their backyard. Hurricanes and tropical storms whipped through their neighborhood at an alarming rate. The whole month of August. For a week there was a lull.
A lull.
Then, in the mid-September, a hurricane hit. Ink was already exhausted from the early stage of pregnancy. Now she could barely make it to her job at the hospital. Edgar wasn't able to make it to campus to teach his classes the semester's second week. The
Schuylkill. It's the name of the river in Philadelphia. The Schuylkill River.
The Schuylkill flooded. Philadelphia was inert for 2 whole days. All the highways and bridges over the river washed out.
Okay, and one more. Keep going.
I'm sorry. The morning after the storm, Imp got him up out of bed before her 6 a.m. departure and said, "You are not going to believe this." She took his hand, her index finger turning softly clockwise in his palm. She was almost excited.
And then we've got this description about the sinkhole. They stared out through the screen door in the back. The whole middle of their backyard was like a fallen birthday cake. Grass and soil wilted 8-9 feet below the surface. The sinkhole was 15 feet wide. Edgar spent the morning trying to shovel out the loose soil. But there was so much. It was dense and heavier than he'd imagined. He couldn't tell what was at the bottom. After a couple of hours, he'd hardly made a dent. Their house had been built in the 1850s, and this is a good expression, by the way. Their house had been built in the 1850s, the oldest on the block. Who knew what he was looking at? By the way, I gave you a link to sinkhole, so you've got a Wikipedia link. A sinkhole, you've seen this in the news recently, because in Siberia, there's these massive, they're not really sinkholes though, but there's something like sinkholes. In Siberia, there are these massive holes appearing in the permafrost. Or sometimes, I was just thinking recently in the news, there's been a lot of news about sinkholes in China. Like there's these YouTube videos where people are walking or driving and then suddenly a car falls through the street. Right? It's pretty terrible. So a sinkhole is when suddenly something below the ground gives way, like there's water flowing below the ground, and the earth drops down. There's a giant sinkhole. By the way, just a question. The river washed out, the bridges over the river washed out. Is that clear? What happened to the bridges when the hurricane hit?
Maybe they were repelled.
They were repelled? I don't know what you mean by repelled.
It's like no, it's not right. It's just I'm thinking about St. Petersburg, and there are a lot of bridges like that can be, separated. They can be repelled.
Oh, you mean that the bridges go up and they separate to let a ship go by? Is that what you mean by separated?
Yeah.
No, not here. Here, does Philadelphia normally get hurricanes? What do you think? Does New York, Philadelphia, Boston, do those cities normally get hurricanes? Where do we normally think of a hurricane in the world? What does a hurricane normally affect? What part of the world?
I don't know actually. Maybe, but a lot of time I heard it that it took place in America.
Of course, but in the north? Hurricane Katrina. Remember where that was? Class?
Maybe in the middle of America.
No, not the middle. It's got to be near water. So a hurricane, like Katrina, that was in New Orleans. And normally we think about hurricanes in Jamaica, Cuba, the Philippines, right? In Japan, they're called typhoons, but they're similar.
But also they sometimes happen in that part of the United States, right? Like,
yeah.
Like especially when it's summer, like once or twice a year.
If that, maybe with global warming once or twice a year, but before, almost never, because it's too cold. And so normally hurricanes don't go that far north, they fall apart. So is Philadelphia a city that's prepared for a hurricane? What do you think? Is it ready for that kind of city? Like Philippines, they had a big one, but they're also used to hurricanes, right? Cuba, Dominican Republic, okay, they can have a lot of damage, but they're ready for it. They know what's going to happen. Philadelphia is not ready for hurricanes. It's not prepared. So the bridges washed out. That means that they collapsed. They washed out. The water took the bridge and destroyed it.
They fly away.
It could mean, yeah. It could also mean that the water was so high that it covered the bridge. It depends. It could be one or the other. Washed out is probably in this case that the water was so high that it covered the bridge. It washed out. But washed out could also mean that it took the bridge away. So obviously there's something going on in Philadelphia. They're not ready for it. Okay, we're back to Mr. Jot. By the way, if there's any questions at any time, just ask. If you're not sure about words or what's going on in the story. A lull. A lull is a quiet period. So there was a lull in August means 1 week there was no bad weather. There was a lull in the weather, a quiet period, a calm. By the way, we have an expression in English, the calm before the storm. Have you heard that before? The
Yeah,
calm. Okay.
we have the similar expression.
I'm just curious. Do you think there's a storm coming in this story? They mention a lull in part 4, but there's 10 parts to the story. Do you think there's a storm coming?
I don't think
Metaphorically?
so.
No?
I don't know. I just guess, but
Alexander, do you like Russian literature?
yes,
Do you like Chekhov?
yeah.
What did Chekhov say about the structure of a play? He said, if there's a gun on the fireplace in the first act, do you remember that expression? Chekhov is a very famous
Not
poet.
actually.
He said if there's a gun on the mantle of the fireplace in Act 1, it's going to go off before Act 3. Nothing is there by accident. If there's a lull mentioned in Part 4, there's going to be a storm before we get to Part 10. I guarantee it. Otherwise, so I have a feeling the author is giving us a little hint. He's talking about a real storm, that's true, but I have a feeling that it's not completely an accident that he mentions it, like many things. Like he mentions IKEA. He doesn't say a furniture store, he says IKEA. He doesn't say a trash bag, he says a Glad trash bag. There must be a reason for all this. Let's find out why. Miss Dolt, we're back to you. Let's take it from this dialogue here. Are you ready, Jolt?
Yes, I'm ready.
Go for it.
The day after their IKEA trip, a contractor came by to have a look. Could be an old well, he said, or a fire pit. These old farmhouses, they used to dig fire pits and cook out back. So, you can take care of it? Edgar asked. Oh no, man, the contractor said. Shit no. He had a short, pointy
Uh-oh.
goatee and
I should have taken those words out. Sorry. Don't actually read those words because we can't use that language in the classroom. Sorry.
oh, okay.
I should have taken it out of the story. Sorry. But don't actually say it because there's kids watching and you never know. Sorry. Go ahead.
I understand. So he had a short, pointy goatee and cowrie shell bracelets on his wrists and ankles. I wouldn't touch it myself, bro. If it's a well, you gotta get all kinds of permits. Anything you fill it with gotta be approved by the state in case it goes groundwater. Even if it's not, and it was a fire pit or some such, who knows what kind of historical is under there. Could be slave papers down in their Indian burial ground. Hui.
Hooey.
Hui.
What do you think hooey is? Do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
Hooey is like nonsense. Like if you don't
Okay.
believe someone, you say, "Oh, that's a bunch of hooey." So it might have
Never say
another.
this word in Russia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see if I can find a good pseudo-scientific gobbledygook. That's a good word, hooey. I'll put a link here for it. Okay, keep going, Jolt. Keep going.
So, what was he supposed to do? Edgar asked. It was me, man, the contractor said. Wouldn't say bupkis about it to anyone. Just feel it in. And hey, tie a rope around your waist if you are getting in there. Don't wanna go baby Jessica on us.
Baby Jessica, anyone? Baby Jessica, anyone? 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 No one?
I searched it in
Oh, yeah?
Wikipedia, actually, yes. And he was a girl who fell into a well, and
And the entire country, the entire United States, was gripped by the story. It was on all the media. So everyone in America knows who Baby Jessica is. That was in what, the 1950s, I think? Do you remember when it happened?
It was 80,
Oh, it
84
was that.
or 85.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was the one when I was a kid. Oh, I thought there was an earlier one. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Oh, because there was an earlier one too that I remember. Oh, that was in
Ah,
'84. Right, 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 right. I actually remember seeing it on television now. Sorry, just a moment from my childhood. It came back. I,
okay.
because I thought something like it happened earlier in the '50s. Because I remember some story. But okay, that's the one in '84, Baby Jessica. And what happened to Baby Jessica? Did you read?
They rescued her, actually.
They did. Okay. Because there's another story where they didn't rescue the baby. That's what I'm asking. But okay, I guess Baby Jessica fared pretty well. Excellent. All right. So let's go back to Mr. Cornell down here. Take it away, Cornell.
Edgar went over to the old ironwood next to the hole. He put his hand on the smooth bark. It felt like cold flesh. Each of the branches of the ironwood looked like the gnarled,
This is gnarled. Gnarled. Gnarled,
gnarled,
sinewy.
sinewy muscle of a bodybuilder. Just as he put his hand there, Eckeeta came busting out of the back door and galloped up to the contractor and started barking. It was a flat, muffled, fabric sound.
Keep going.
"Whoa! There, boys and guy," the contractor said. He crouched and put the back of his left hand to Eckeeta's muzzle. The dog backed up and put his tail between his legs. Edgar was surprised at the reaction. Eckeeta was a puppy. Since they put him together, he would only be playful, exuberant.
Exuberance.
Exuberant.
Okay. So what's unusual about his reaction, just to be clear? Cornell?
No.
Why is Edgar surprised? I thought we didn't know his name, but now that I'm reading the story again, I see we do know his name. The husband is Edgar, and the wife is Imka. But they're probably a young couple. Why is Edgar surprised? What's the dog doing? Just to be clear.
Edgar was surprised at the reaction.
To whom?
To Doug.
Of the dog, but to whom? Who's the contractor here? Who's this contractor? You know?
Contractor is a supplier.
Well, not exactly. It's probably more like a contractor means a person who works independently. In this case, it's a guy who's there to fix the sinkhole, right? So we call them a contractor because it's not a company; it's an individual.
Entrepreneur or something like that.
I doubt it. Contractors usually don't make a lot of. It depends on what kind of contractor. Depends. But in this case, it's just a guy with a truck and some tools, and that's it, probably. But yeah, I guess if you're really good, you can make a company. Probably he doesn't have a company. So that's why he's not an entrepreneur. So the dog has a very odd reaction. This does not sound like a toy dog at all to me. Let's see. Hassan, want to keep going? Got time for a little bit more.
Yeah, no, he shouted that the dog wasn't barking at the contractor at all, but at the sinkhole. It was like he was waiting for something to come up out of the ground. "Weird little guy you got there," the contractor said. "His name is Eckeeta," Edgar said. "We just got him yesterday." The contractor stared at the dog while Eckeeta
Stared.
stared. Okay, just so like a started. Stared at the dog while Eckeeta bared his teeth at the sinkhole, barking and barking and barking. My wife, Edgar said, always wanted one. Well, has always wanted a dog. Bet she does, the contractor said. He laughed.
What do you think he means? Bet she
Uh,
does.
uh, the contractor doesn't even sure that she really wants a dog, but it seems like Edgar always wanted one and just
Maybe.
bought it, and his wife doesn't really want it. Sounds like, but I doubt it.
Or, here's another theory. Or it's not a dog.
Yes, actually, I'm a little bit confused because the beginning we thought that, I mean, we read like this that it wasn't a real dog, but now it's like barking and angry at the sinkhole.
I've never
Like
seen
when did
IKEA. I've never seen IKEA furniture get angry before. It's a little bit strange.
Yeah, me neither. Actually, it's like quite strange, not even a little bit.
So there's something unusual about this particular thing from IKEA, and it gets it stranger, much
Yeah.
stranger. Like
Yeah,
here,
yeah. I'm just thinking to maybe he just like stole someone's dog, maybe like unconsciously, and he thought that it was actually a product. So,
maybe. I mean, he certainly thinks it's from IKEA because he's described. We don't know what he's thinking, really, right? We're watching the situation, just like we don't really know what he's thinking. We get some of his thoughts, but Edgar, that is. But the dog is described as made of particle board, which is a kind of wood, made of velvet, right, which is soft material. You have to use an Allen wrench. It's made of wood. You put it together. So, according to the descriptions, it's like any other toy or piece of furniture, and it's in the children's section. Like he bought the crib and the dog together.
yeah,
So,
it actually reminds me Pinocchio. Do you know the story that there is a guy like a wooden, but it's actually a real child?
in the story of Pinocchio, which is from
Yeah,
which is from one part of Italy, from
yeah, I
near
guess,
near
yeah,
Pisa, right?
right.
So Pinocchio, what does he need to do to become a boy? Do you remember in the story?
Uh,
He, to become
yeah,
real.
uh, he is not, he wasn't going to be a real child, but then he just was, and the only thing that I remember when he lies, he just gonna have a bigger nose. So,
Exactly. He couldn't lie because everyone could see that he was lying.
yeah.
It's been a long time. I don't remember the story of Pinocchio very well, actually. Wasn't there something that, of course, maybe I'm confusing the Disney movie with the real story, but wasn't there something that he had to do to become real, or he was trying to become real? I don't know. Does anyone remember?
Uh,
No.
Not really. I just Geppetto just built him, like not built, but just created him. But he wasn't planning to have a real boy because he was not able to have a son, and
Right.
just he created him, and one morning he just saw that he became a real child.
According to Wikipedia, Geppetto dreamed. Geppetto dreamed of. Oh no, it's not Geppetto. It's Pinocchio. Ah, that's not clear. Carved by a woodcarver named Geppetto in a small Italian village. He was created as a wooden puppet, but he dreamed of becoming a real boy. So apparently it was Pinocchio who did the dreaming, and then he became real. Uh, just trying to remember because I thought there was something particular that he had to do, like he
No,
had to.
no, I don't think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't see it. Anyway, I think it's not a coincidence because this is a wooden dog and Pinocchio is a wooden boy. By the way, take a look at this last paragraph in part 4 before we run out of time. Eckeeta jumped down into the hole, started digging. Suddenly, he let out a high-pitched whimper and jumped back out. He started scratching at the back door more intently than he had at the hole. Edgar thought Eckeeta might turn and survey the sinkhole again. He let the dog in. Out of sight of the hole, Eckeeta just sat down on the kitchen floor and licked his hind quarters. Then he stood and barked at a ficus tree in the corner. So, his behavior is a little bit unusual. Class, what do you think's going on with the dog in the sinkhole? Why is he barking at it? Any theories?
Obviously, sinkhole is a scary thing, so like everyone could be afraid of it.
Well, Edgar's not afraid of it. Edgar's just upset that he has to pay money to get a guy
Yeah.
to fix it.
Edgar seems like a weird guy, so I don't know. I don't know about it.
Edgar seems weird, really? He seems pretty normal. Why do you think he's weird?
He just bought a dog from IKEA, and it's already a weird situation, like buying a dog from IKEA.
That is weird. But so did Inca. Inca bought it too, so we have to... So, I mean, the wife bought it. The only one who thinks it's weird is the contractor. And the contractor, look at the way he talks. The contractor uses a certain kind of English, right? Like, hey, bro, I wouldn't say bupkis about to anyone. So the contractor sounds like he's a bit of a dork. The contractor uses kind of bad language.
Yeah, but at least he's just straightforward. So, like...
That is true. Maybe he's a little too straightforward. Joe, you've read a little bit more of the story. Without giving away the ending, don't tell us the ending, but what do you think? What do you think the dog is... Why is the dog so obsessed with the sinkhole? What's he afraid of? Without telling us the ending of the story... By the way, I'm not saying you're going to find out. We have to read it, and we have to kind of step back from it and think about it. But, I don't know. What do you think, Schultz? What's he afraid of?
I read it really quick, so I know what the ending is, but I'm not sure why the dog is so obsessed with that hole.
And
it's clearly he hates it, but I'm not sure about the reason for it.
And one more question to think about. By the way, just so you know, I have to stop the class because I have another class starting in like one minute. I put some discussion questions for you to start to think about. Okay? Maybe I can add some more. But these are things that I think are the obvious questions when you read the story. And I have my theory. I know why I think these things are going on. I'd like to know your ideas. Right? Well, I've got to start the next class, so here's what I suggest. I'll try to add a few more questions for you to think about. Read the rest of the story on your own. If you want to make any notes or make comments, double-click on a word. You can put comment there, or hit Control-Alt-M, and you can write your questions and comments directly in the document. Okay? And in the next class, next Friday at the same hour, we are going to begin a new story, but we can talk about what this story means in the beginning of class. Okay? So save the link to this and check back a little later. I'll add some more discussion questions. Okay? See if you can answer the question, what the dog is worried about, what's it afraid of, and why is this sinkhole important? It seems to take over the story in the second half. Think about it. Okay? Questions or comments? Send me a message in the chat window. Don't forget to follow me on Verbling by going to my teacher page and clicking follow, and then you can see my upcoming classes. Okay? So, I'll be back Monday morning for pronunciation practice at 9 GMT and 10 GMT, London time, that is, for the business class. And we'll be back next Friday, the same hour, to talk about the ending of Eckeeta and start a brand new story. Okay? Have a great weekend, everyone. See you soon.
See.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.